Hello guys, welcome to After Effects tutorial for beginners. And today I'm gonna use After Effects 60. Probably most of you would have been using CS6 and other later version. There is not much different, but there is a different. Now, as a beginner, when you launch After Effects, you are gonna see the user interface like this. For CC, a lot of things has been changed in order to make life a little bit easier for us. So when you launch After Effects, this is the way it's gonna look like, and we have After Effects CC over here. Then we have all the file menus here. Over here we still have our tools. Then we have the opportunity to switch to our workspace, maybe test, which will reset this panel layout. So we can also switch to effect or probably go back to the standard workspace. Now as I'm clicking, you are going to see this this cyan line anywhere I click. What that does is just to tell you that that panel is active. Okay, so this is called the project panel. You can see the project here. Then we have the effect panel, which is next to it. We have the composition panel, which is here. We also have the footage panel. Then we have the info panel, audio panel. Then we have the preview panel, the effect panel, the character panel. So a whole lot of panels to do so many things. The paragraph panel is here. Then we have one of the most important, which is the timeline panel. Okay, now right here we don't have anything going on inside of the application, and that is because in every application you open Notepad, Microsoft Word, Corel Draw, Excel, there will always be a platform for you to work with, either a page or an artboard or a sequence. But in this case, the platform you need to work with in this case is called a composition. So you need to go to composition and click new composition. So just look at this as a page for you to work with, but we don't call it page per se, we call it composition, because we are doing more of compositing things inside of this application. So we use After Effects to do composition, to do motion graphics, advanced VFX, and so on and so forth. So what we are doing is all about compositing. So once you click on composition, you are going to see these composition settings. Again, this is like your page settings or page size. So the composition settings is based on those settings that you see maybe on your television or your laptop. Like we have all these presets here. So we have the HD TV, we have the DVC Pro. So these are all television format or all video format. Okay, then the one you are familiar with probably might be 2K or HD TV 720 or 1080. From HD TV 1080 is a standard, at least for television. It's a television standard, so most television use 1080 HD TV. So for a start, you might want to start with HD TV 1080, which is this one. So once you pick that, another thing you will consider is the frame rate. So it's set to approximately 30 frames per second. You can see that here. Then the pixel aspect ratio is set to square pixels. I highly recommend you leave this at square pixels. We have the resolution set to full, which we can make changes to. Now the good thing about this dialog box is that even after seeing this and I click OK, I can still come back and make changes to it. Let's say I click OK now, this place is active because there is a composition. So I can click on the composition and go to composition settings in order to make changes to it. So the start time code is actually where your project is going to start. Then we have this in the total duration of the project, which is set to, when you see this time code, this is the first one here is frames. So this is your seconds, minute and hour. So we have this set to like 41 seconds. We can narrow that down to 30. So we type in 000, or you can also type in 300. Okay, so let's make that 30 seconds. Okay, so immediately I click on that, you can see from here where we have 0 seconds all the way to this place is 30 seconds. So if we make changes to that again, so we have 30, maybe we reduce that, instead of 30 we have 20, and click OK. You can see we have 20 seconds. So just to let you know that when you create a composition, you have nothing to worry about. If you make a mistake, you can always go back to change your composition settings in the composition menu. Okay, so now that we've created a composition, you can see the composition panel is active and the timeline is also active, but there is nothing going on. We've not have any object or anything going on. Now this place is filled with black. Probably that's not what you want, or probably it is, but let's say we want to do a simple something like typing a text. So what we can do is either we pick this text tool, which is the horizontal type tool, or we go to our normal layer, new text, because everything you do in After Effects is always in layer. So we can always go to layer, new text to create a text. We can also do the same by right clicking on the timeline, then we go to new text. So any of these three methods will work. So let's call this After Effect 101. Now after typing this text, you can drop your tool, but immediately I do that, I don't see the text. And if you look at this place, it said refresh, disable, release cap lock. So it's actually because my cap lock was on when I typed this text. So when I turn off the cap lock, I'm gonna see the text. Okay, so I can bring the text all the way to the center. Now by the time you have this text right here, you might want to center it or maybe do some alignment with it. Over here in the paragraph panel, that is where this will come in handy. You can use the center text to center this text. Then you can bring this text to the center, but you might not actually know where this text is if it's actually at the center. Now we have some buttons down here that does a lot of things. As time goes on, you will get used to it, but for now the one I'm looking for is this one right here. This is going to turn on the title / save action, which is going to show us the save action. So this very first bar here is the save action. So anything outside this place might not be displayed in some television set. So the second one here is the title save action. So if you are placing a text, you must make sure it falls within this second rectangular box. Okay, now we can take advantage of these and these in order to align this text at the center. So I think that is now at the center. Another thing you might want to do is to change the font of the text, which you can do by coming to character panel. You can see, in case probably you try to do something, or let's assume that this panel is closed, we can't see it again. How do we get it? All you need to do is to come over to Windows and turn on the paragraph panel. So any of the panels you are looking for, you always find them on Windows. Okay, so let's quickly select the text. If I deselect the text, I won't be able to change the font, so I must make sure the text is selected. Then I can come to my font list and choose any font of my choice. Okay, so another thing to do is to click inside the font and use your down arrow key to toggle among font. I think I like this particular one, so I'm gonna use that and increase the size a little bit like this. So now that we have this text inside of this place, what After Effects is all about interactivity and movement, and right now we don't have any of those things. This little tiny red line with cyan head is called the CTI, the control time indicator. So it shows you, it's like your playhead. So if I hit on the preview button, nothing is going on, but it's playing, so there is no animation in it. So for the first time you are opening this application, you might want to actually have an animation in it so that you have a feel of how the application work, at least for the first time. So let's go ahead and do that. It's very easy to animate in After Effects. So all you need to do is to set some couple of keyframes, and keyframe simply means keeping record of a particular object within that interval of time. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at that. Now over here I have my test layer, which when I click on it, the test is selected. Now we have the visibility icon that you can toggle on and on to see the visibility of the test. Then here we have this arrow that we can throw down, and we have the transform property of the test, which control the position of the test. As I click on this value, you can see this is the up and down position of this test. Then we also have the one that moves left and right over here. So the same thing goes for the scale. We can scale the test in or out. Also we can reduce the opacity of the test. So since we can do all these things in After Effects, we can as well as keyframe them with respect to time. So let's say we want this test to be keyframed. Now the position on, whenever you see this means X, Y, and if we are working in 3 dimensions, you are going to see the Z, but we'll get to that later. So if I move this off the screen, so I want it to fly in to the center, so somewhere here, so I can set a keyframe. Then I will now move the CTI. How long do I want this to fly in? So do I want it to fly within a second or half a second? So I will make that decision. So let's say I want this to move in within half a second. That would be like 14 frames. All I need to do is to return this back to the center. I knew that it was 960 that was there, so I will just type in 960. So it's at the center now. So within here to here, we now have a movement. If we preview this by clicking on the run preview button, you can see now we have that test flying in. So that is good. Let's say we want this test to move in, then hold on for up to 2 seconds, then move to the other side and come back. We can do that just by saying it means we can do it. So what we need to do is to move the CTI to 2 seconds, because I'm looking at this time here in order to monitor this. Then I'm going to keep record of this position of this test at this time by clicking on this icon. So that will add a keyframe keeping record of this. So from here to another half a second, so that would be like 2 seconds plus 15 frames, or 14. I'm gonna move these all the way out. You see that now. So by the time we play this, we have the test move in and move out. You see, very easy to what? To do your simple animation. So now we want this to maybe repeat itself again. We might want to keep on keyframing this, but another thing we can do is to copy these keyframes so that we don't waste our time. So in order to do that, I'm going to click Mark Q drag in order to select all the keyframes. Then I will go to edit and copy them. Then move the CTI after, let's say, up to 3 seconds. I want to keyframe that. Then from 3 seconds, I want to paste those keyframes. So we are going to have this movement. The holds good. You can see that. Now we want at 6 seconds, exactly 6 seconds. We want to bring in this image back, so which is 960 here. Then we want that to hold till another 15 seconds, or probably to 7 seconds. Okay, then we are going to toggle this again. Now from here, from 7 seconds all the way to another half a frame, we want to animate another parameter instead of the position. So the parameter we want to animate now is the scaling. So I'm going to toggle the scaling, the keyframe, to record that position. Now from here to 8 seconds, we want to scale this test very big. Then from that place to another 15 seconds. So I'm just showing you the beauty of this. There is no limits to what you can do. So we can return this back to 100 again. So that's going to give us a scale in and out within a second. Can you see that? Okay, now by the time we play this from the beginning, you see now we have animation. Now we can go on and on to animate both the opacity. Let's say we want to do that. All we can do is from here to this place, we want to keyframe the scale to hold that down at 829. Then we also want to toggle the opacity. So we want that opacity to fade out completely. Then we want to bring it back on by the time we move this again. So bring it back on to 100%. So by the time we preview this, you can see we have the text moving left and right. Then the opacity, it blinks. Okay, now we can go on to animate all these parameters. We can also come over to the text itself and start animating a lot of its properties here. So anything that has this stopwatch can be animated. Okay, now another thing we can do instead of animating these, because this is test, is to use what we call a preset. So since we already have a manual animation from here to here, and I want over to this place, I want us to use a preset. So we can come over to our preset and let's say we add this to it. So when we add this to it, you're going to see that the effect is not visible up to this point. Okay, so the text is not visible up to this point, and that is actually making us to lose the animation from the beginning, what we've done from the beginning. So we only have this happening to this point. So what that means is that something has been overridden by the presets that we added, and as a beginner that is going to be a little bit complex for you, but I'm going to explain the way you understand it. Now from the beginning of this animation and from the beginning of this effect, which is this slow fade on, the offset is set to -100. So if this is on a positive angle, which is full 100, the text will be visible. Can you see that now? But by the time we crank this up to full 100, the text will be visible, but as it's going, the animation will start going to the negative angle from this place. So we also want this text to be visible up to this point where we have this keyframe. So we want this to be exactly 100. So the text will be visible from here up to this place. Now from here to here is going to perform its magic. Okay, So pretty easy to solve that problem. So let's go ahead and add the animate out, add the stretch. The preset will be added based on where your CTI is, so which is this control time indicator. If the CTI is here, you add this, you add the effect or and presets is going to start from where this CTI is, and that might actually conflict with all these keyframes here, all these things that you've done in order to get this animation up to this point. So I want to move my CTI up to this place where the text is still visible. Then I can drag this on top of it. You can see it has added keyframes from there to that place, so that is not giving us any issue. So you can see by the time we play this back, you can see all the stuff. The first time you do this is gonna do what we call a RAM preview, which means it's gonna play it very fast, then it will start again to play it normally. Okay, so you can see we've been able to gather some few things together in this new application, After Effects CC. I believe as a beginner this will get you going to start doing some few things, and make sure you subscribe to this channel because I'll be doing so much of these basic tutorials on these applications for beginners, so that they can get used to the way to work around with the applications. Thank you for watching, guys. I really appreciate. Kindly subscribe. See you soon. Bye.